Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the season finale. The only season finale with the science and the screaming to literally pick the best movie of any given year. And we are given 1973. And we're plowing through. The contestants currently are Exorcist, The Sting, Don't Look Now, The Long Goodbye, Coffy, The Harder They Come, Mean Streets, and Paper Moon. These are the movies that have defeated all competitors. And now they will square off against each other. Joining me to watch the carnage and to participate in it, Mike and Ryan, my bosom chums. Welcome, gentlemen. Are you excited to finally pick 73's Movie of the Year?
Can I ask Mike a question?
Yeah, lay it on him.
Okay, I was going to say no, but Greg said yes, so.
You were going to say no, even
Ask
though we're
me a
on a
question.
podcast. Great improvising, Mike. Wonderful, wonderful job.
Yes, and I will maybe answer it.
Top 100 Movie of the Year movies of all time. How many of these 8 are in there?
In the top 100 Movie of the Year movies, 7.
That's pretty good. I would say
It's
that
a pretty
that's a pretty
good
good
year,
season.
guys. When
Yeah.
you rattled off these 8, I'm like, well, there's a fucking season.
Because
Yeah, I think when you
I feel
boil
like-
it down to 8, it looks really, really good.
we've been talking a lot of shit on 73, like, oh, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. These are 8 fucking movies.
These are bangers. This is hit after
Yeah.
hit after hit.
Especially when, if you're like me and like your season isn't for another 40 years, but you're picking the years. There's a lot of, man, looking at the 90s and 2000s, it's like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah.
Mike's next season is not in 2046. It's covering 2046.
Yes. And those movies are going to
Movies-
blow our minds.
Of the future years. They're all in 5D. You wouldn't understand it.
It's a lot of characters sneezing on you, and you can feel the snot.
Now that we have separated the wheat from the chaff, are you at all nervous about having to get down to just one movie, Ryan?
This is where I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to think, and I particularly, don't know what the fuck Young Buck Dynamite, Firecracker, Firework, Mike Gravano is going to think, because he has just been thrown in here to explode
Yeah.
things.
Will only answer to that full title from now on. Young Buck, Dynamo.
Dynamite.
How about Dynamite? Can we just shorten it to
Oh,
that?
Dino Mike.
Dino Mike.
Or Dino Mike, because I'm half Mike, half dinosaur. I'm into all of it. All variations.
Now that you are stationed in Colorado, I think that you are half dinosaur. I feel very confident in
Yeah.
that.
Does
I hang out with
Colorado have a lot
Denver,
of
the last
dinosaurs?
dinosaur?
Because of Denver the last
Oh,
dinosaur.
Denver the last dinosaur,
Exactly.
yeah.
He's my friend, and
A whole
so
lot
much more.
Which means he gives you hand jobs, right?
Yeah. Denver the Last Dinosaur's theme song reminds me of the Mr. Bucket theme song. The Mr. Bucket, put your balls in my mouth. They like do another pass, guys, on these lyrics.
Well, you know what, gentlemen? Let's take a brief break, and then let's come right back and start making the tough decisions. Our first matchup is different types of movies, but both very good. Number 1 seed, The Exorcist, versus number 8 seed, The Sting. Movies can be so many things, and they can make us feel very good, or they can make us feel very bad. Mike, are you more drawn to the movies that make you feel very good, or the ones that make you feel very bad?
The Sting made me feel so good. It made me want to rewatch so many, or watch for the first time, so many Robert Redford and the salad dressing guys other movies.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I haven't seen that one. Together
one.
or separately, I would like to see more of them. But The Exorcist is number 1 and is very 70s, where The Sting is what a good movie that could take place at any time and come out at any time.
And it's set. This thing is set in the past. There's not even a year.
No.
It's just like the
The
before
fairy
time,
tale
when
past
all
of America.
we're 3 or 4 different pasts all exist at the same time.
I believe
Ryan,
the beginning
are we
of
dismissing this thing too easily here?
the start of the Sting, it said previously on, and then it just
Oh,
said
there.
nothing. Look, if I'm gonna wait, is Mike look or listen?
Mike is listen.
What does that mean?
My wife and Mike, they both start every conversation with either look or listen. I can never remember which one does which. I am going to dismiss The Sting, but that's because I love The Exorcist. I think it's a great movie. I'm going to quote a once great critic, Ryan, who once quoted a thing he read on the internet that said that The Exorcist put evil on film, guys. That's a fucking crazy thing to say. Did The Sting put evil on film?
It put charm on film.
No.
Hijinks, maybe.
Charm on film.
What if The Sting did put evil on film? It would go a little something like this.
I mean, I think some would argue that the true face of evil is more like seductive rather than kind of like gross and
Charles Durning,
gnarly, and so
the true evil
in that way, yeah. the Durning effect.
I do dock points from The Exorcist for being a movie in 1973 and not having Charles Durning. That was a mistake.
what the fuck?
It was right there.
What the fuck, guys?
Just if you delay filming a little bit, he'll clear up his schedule. He'll come down off that pole.
Did we do 1980 movie of the year? And Charles Durning was nominated for, or 1982 we did movie of the year, and he was nominated for Tootsie.
Mm-hmm.
This
75, he was nominated for Dog Day Afternoon.
We are the Durning Dudes, which is the spin-off podcast we're gonna do instead of movie of the year.
This guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame as soon as possible. And like, are we ever like Durning was not good in this?
No.
That's never happened.
He always shows.
Durning in the widening gyre. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. I feel like we have seen the Sting to its logical end, right? Does it feel like this is us saying like, hey, the Sting, you gave us a lot of entertainment and we talked about you, but sometimes you just go out there and you fight a heavyweight and there's just nothing you can do about it.
I think the amount of fucked up weird things, some to like Greg's unappreciation, but mostly all to my appreciation that The Exorcist does, of just like, what the fuck in a Hollywood movie that The Exorcist does, I think are so great. Like, I can't vote against it.
There's so many things where just because I am a lapsed Catholic, but I still have that Catholic upbringing, I'm like, oh, you can't do that. You can't. No, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put that on film. So, Ryan, are you a vote for The Exorcist?
Very much so, sir.
Mike, what do you say?
Very much so, sir.
The Exorcist moves on. I mean, it's nothing against the Sting. It won many battles, but it just could not quite take out something as powerful as The Exorcist. It has the devil in it, you guys. Pazuzu. Up next is
Irish God.
number 4 seed Don't Look Now versus number 5 seed The Long Goodbye. Uh-oh.
Ooh, the curly hoods go at each other. Don't fight, guys. You're the same.
Your hair is going to get all tangled up.
Now, Elliot Gould did not wear a wig here, so that's a point for The Long Goodbye.
Yeah.
I heard that he wore a merkin, a pubic wig, the entire time, even though
on his head?
You never see it. Yeah, he just wanted to.
He suffers from cold balls, so he just wanted to.
Man, it could get pretty cold in LA, everybody. This is, I don't know, this feels like a pretty tough one. I think this might be 1 and 2 my favorite movies of the season.
This is like the NFC finals of the 90s where Dallas would play San Francisco.
I mean, it's like whoever wins this,
we lose.
We lose.
They're going to beat the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl.
They're going to beat the Buffalo Bills for the 18th time. Please, just let us win one time. No.
Maybe you should have named your team after a fucking creepy serial killer.
Mike, are you at all moved? You're like kind of the resident detective guy. That's like your domain.
When did this happen, by the way? I don't understand this. Mike reads fucking dragon books and fucking books about like fairies and shit.
I thought he read books about like Scandinavian detectives.
Yeah, it's when I turned about 33 and I started intermixing. I didn't stop reading dragon and fairy books, but started reading Juicy Adler Olsen and Michael Connolly books, Susan Cox, other detectives. And so, yeah, that's when I became old. I said, no World War II for me, thank you. Give me detective novels.
I read those Matron and Aubrey books about like sailing during the Napoleonic era. So
yeah,
I know about boats.
Greg shit is like there was one Master and Commander movie. Why was there not 20? That's Greg shit. L.A. Noir has always been my thing, and now it's Mike's.
You dropped it.
Oh, okay.
But you're also like Raymond Carver, right? Like you're old school. I'm
right.
like the Harry Bosch first season only adapted 2 of the
yeah,
books.
but then his point stands all the more, right? I should go to Ryan as the long.
No, it's fine. Mike can have it, and like we already talked about Merkin, Mike. You don't have to keep bringing up your Harry Bosch.
You gave that one away for free, Ryan.
I know.
Save that for the Pointed show.
I feel like next season I should just get a point right off the bat.
Yeah, that's
both
fair.
of these
You
are
need
like. Is it wrong, Ryan? Would you say to call these experimental movies?
I don't know what we're talking about.
Don't Look Now and The Long Goodbye. Like, are they?
I
feel like they're not like your run of the mill normal movies. These are both kind of like out there, aren't they?
I feel like that you are getting people in the seats based on previews where people are like, or trailers based on like, oh, I kind of feel like what we know the sort of movie that we're getting here, but the way that you're playing with the tropes are not like what we get in the 90s coming into this century of like, oh fuck, this person has watched so many movies and we're playing with all the movies that they've seen and hopefully we've seen. It's a little different than that. That's the way that Altman has always been.
There's
right?
no tongue-in-cheek in these ones, I'd say.
Right.
Or
like
the 90s did.
When you watch the Altman movies of like MASH or McCabe and Mrs. Miller, like he's doing what he thinks with Westerns or war movies, or in this case, noir movies, and you do what you do with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that this is the most obvious one with noir movies as opposed to Western or war movies. With Don't Look Now, man, like it still has all of the stuff of a thriller, I guess, but like, or a psychological drama. But like, if you're looking for, well, I like Silence of the Lambs, and
yeah,
I'm at Blockbuster right now, or Netflix is recommending. Let's update my references a little bit. Netflix is now recommending that I should watch Don't Look Now. I guess it would work, but you're in for a different night.
Yeah, when you come out the other side of it, it hasn't really delivered. Like, it feels like it's delivering that. And then when you have seen the entire movie, it's obviously a different experience than that.
Right.
It's much more, oh, did you like We Need to Talk About Kevin? Then you'll appreciate Don't Look Now than a thriller.
Right. And
I think
I do think that, like, if you're, this is kind of the thing where I think that for Don't Look Now, it's more like, are you going through a thing? Whether that's like a parent dying or a divorce or you quit school, right? Like you dropped out of school even though you weren't supposed to. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, are you going through a thing that's like really keeping you up at night? Don't Look Now will haunt you. It doesn't have to be specifically a young girl drowned in a red coat. You're going to get fucked up by Don't Look Now. And that's what its ultimate goal is. That's why I think it's so fantastic, but also timeless, is that like whatever it is, whether you're in a marriage that is as close but also cracked as John and Laura's, you're going to get fucked up by this movie. Whereas, I don't know, the ending always bugs me, and Mike has made me fucked up about it more. You know, but I still think the first 6/7 of the movie is nearly perfect.
And I'd say they're different where Don't Look Now will fuck you up emotionally. The Long Goodbye, because it is shaggy and twisty and turny, keeps you at a distance. You're not like emotionally on the edge of your seat about what's going on with Marlowe. And so they're different cinematic experiences in that way.
And my question too is that if The Long Goodbye is Watchmen, and in a lot of ways that I think it is, and like I can't offer higher praise for a movie than The Long Goodbye is Watchmen. What if it is your first comic book? I don't think it's a great first comic book. And
yeah, you definitely don't want this to be your first noir detective story.
I think you'll get a lot more after you see other ones, but I think this is still I don't know if it was my first, but it was early on. I probably watched this first in my early 20s. And I still loved it then, even though I had not had the level of experience I had as the LA noir expert on the show, and nobody else has ever come close.
I'm the only one who's even played the video game LA Noire, so maybe I'm
starring Ken from Mad Men.
It starred actually a few different people from Mad Men. They clearly were like, "Hey, give us all the Mad Men." I'm like, okay, here they come. Well, gentlemen, I think there's nothing left to do but to vote on one of these two movies. I feel like very much this lays bare what is so difficult about this. Two amazing movies somehow in the artifice of our doing it, like having to square off against each other. So Don't Look Now versus The Long Goodbye. Mike, which one's moving forward for you?
Yeah, not only is it, I think, an impeccably crafted movie, it's one of my favorite movies, versus Don't Look Now is great, but when it's goofy, it's not intentionally goofy. There's fucking cracks in this that I think The Long Goodbye
I have to
puts
strongly
it to shame.
disagree with that. Your vote is your vote, but I can't look at some of the goofiness of this movie and be like, they were not aware that this was goofy.
Then intentionality or not, it does not fucking work.
Yeah. I think in the 70s there was a profusion of tones within many of the movies, and I definitely think Don't Look Now tried to utilize that one way or another. So but it sounds like to me like you were saying Don't Look Now, but The Long Goodbye gets your vote.
Yes, The Long Goodbye gets my vote.
Ryan.
Mike, this is our third episode of the finale. We can't do anything in one episode.
No,
we
why
have to
would
do
we?
it in 3.
Fans' demands be damned.
I'm thinking we should split the last episode
Into 3?
just to do a meeting
Into
on it.
3.
I think parts 1 and part 2 of the third part of the final would be best to get it all in.
Longtime listeners, and by that I mean listeners of the first 2 parts of the 1973 finale, know that Greg hemmed and hawed and hemorrhaged and homaged over having to make the decision. And he's going to have to do it now. And I think this is going to be tripled because it's the second round, because Don't Look Now is my decision.
Wow. Well, this underlines how difficult it is, because I feel like I liked both of these movies as much as the guys who voted for them. But then, yeah, the other one I definitely liked more. For me, I have to say, though, the movie that really blew me away was Don't Look Now. And so I think I'm going to go with that. I loved The Long Goodbye. It's the reason for the season, all that stuff that we've been saying about it. But I just, as an experience, and it has that extra thing that I like so much in movies, where it's just like, I could watch any scene from this movie, and I think I'd come away with a couple questions, and the questions would compel me. I'd be interested in finding out the answer. And the movie could serve as a text to do that, or I could just reflect on it on my own. So Don't Look Now is moving on.
Wild.
When we come back, we're going to give out the award for biggest shithead, and then get into some more of our round 2 battles. This, I think, has slowly become my favorite award, and I feel like I think about it all season. This is not biggest villain, because we're not talking just about who did the worst.
So many people email and they're like, biggest shithead, is that biggest villain? And guys, for the 14th season in a row, no.
Ryan,
Do
what's
you
the classic
understand the words that are coming out of our mouths?
Classic example is, of course, throughout the course of the season, I won most of the episodes. Mike lost. He's the biggest shithead. Mike is the classic example from
Ryan is the
1973.
biggest villain.
And Ryan is the villain. Yeah, I think that honestly that does lay it quite bare.
Or, if you want a cinematic example, it's Die Hard. Hans Gruber is the villain. Ellis is the shithead.
Exactly.
Or
you leave the movie hating Ellis way more than Hans Gruber, who you kind of respect for his power and gravitas.
Or Mike not clearing that bubble from his throat the whole time he was just talking. That's the biggest shithead.
Well, I thought about Hans Gruber, which made me
get a bubble in your throat. Yeah.
Maybe I'm choked up, and also I want to slip into my impression of Alan Rickman.
Harry Potter.
Killmonger is the villain, but Claw is the biggest shithead.
I was going to say Black Panther was.
No, you can't
Share
say that.
Share that technology, bro.
With the rest of the world, maybe
Yeah.
make your lives a little bit better instead of just... No, honestly, hide. That makes a lot of sense to me. Biggest shithead, Ryan, who are our nominees?
Greg, your first nominee from the film The Exorcist is Burke Dennings.
Okay, I don't know. Did this guy get a bad rap at all? This is the director.
Just listen to that name. That's a shithead name.
He was born with a shithead name. He died with a shithead body. He was thrown out of a window for potentially molesting a little girl.
Probably tried to molest Pazuzu. Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard to imagine why he was in the room to jump out the window. And I don't want to victim blame, but in this case, I am blaming the victim of the guy that jumped out the window. I don't know.
We catch him at the end of screaming at one of the employees of the house screaming at him for like being Polish, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and being a Nazi.
Yeah,
Yes.
just for being like not even German, but like Polish or something.
He sucks.
Quite a
And his name
shithead.
is Burke.
Also, he's one of those Brits that's always drunk, and he's always like, "I'll tell you what, you're a fucking piece of shit." Mike, the next nominee is from The Last Detail. His name is Hippie at Party.
Yeah, this guy. Look, even though we might agree more with his politics,
Sure. This
That
makes
makes-
it worse.
yes,
This
that
it
makes
worse.
us angrier.
Yeah.
Is I don't want this guy on our team who people are just trying to have a good time. He's just like, no. Tell me what you think about Nixon. He's like, nah, that's not what we're here to do. He's like, but so you love him? Like, man, fuck off. Get out of here.
The worst thing that could possibly happen is for this guy to hear about Bernie Sanders. If that happened, I would run out of the building as fast as
this is
possible.
another good example. Villain in this scenario is Nixon.
Uh-huh.
The hippie at the party is biggest shithead.
Greg, from The Long Goodbye. Villain? Lots of them. Shithead.
Yeah.
Terry Lennox.
Oh my god. The entire
This fucking
movie
guy.
is
This
is
fucking guy.
the one thing you know in this whole entire movie is that Terry Lennox is dead. Guess what?
I know one thing to be true.
He is not dead. And he betrays his own friend multiple times. He just like very casually kills his wife and then later is like, she was annoying me. She was giving me a hard time.
But you're my buddy, right? You get it?
This guy is the closest to being a villain and a shithead, but he definitely falls on the shithead spectrum.
Mike, in the film Enter the Dragon, do you remember a gentleman named Parsons?
I had to look up his name, but he's the Kiwi. They're all on this ship to go to Fight Island to fight. But for some reason, this motherfucker's like, oh, you're carrying a thing of oranges so we don't get scurvy? I'm going to kick you in the butt. Eat shit. He's the one fighter we don't get a backstory because it would be just him kicking any sort of helper in the butt to spill whatever's in their tray. This guy's a shithead. How dare you, Parsons?
What? Our heroes are on the way to Fight Island. Maybe we don't like our heroes enough. Let's invent a guy. Fucking
way
Parsons.
Has the name of a fucking butler.
Has the name of the worst guy to win numerous Best Comedic Emmys in a row.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like bullying. I said
You're
it.
brave.
Not a fan of bulls.
It's weird because your actions and your words do not line up.
Greg, our final nominee tonight is from Serpico. He's played by the guy from Top Gun and Back to the Future. It's Steiger.
Okay. Steiger, I'm going to treat this guy like a human. I'm looking Steiger right in the eyes here, and I just want to say, who hurt you, man? Obviously somebody messed with you, right? When you were young, and it had a really like bad effect on you. That you just charge into a bathroom and they're like, you suck at each other's dicks in here? Like, bro, whatever is going on, I want you to know you have value, and it was not your fault. But don't keep perpetuating this cycle. You weren't hurt by a gay person. You might have been hurt by somebody who happened to be gay, but you can't then the rest of your life be like constantly looking for homosexuals in every bathroom and then freaking out. And also, if somebody wants to buzz the tower and they've had a tough day flying in their plane, you got to let them buzz the tower.
Oh, God. What a great name for fucking two dudes sucking each other off. Somebody buzzing the tower in here?
Yeah, but
buzzing
you
the
guys
tower
buzzing the
in
tower. Since we saw this movie, I have not entered a bathroom without shouting. You suck, but I do it with a happy smile on my face.
Hey! Who's doing
He
that
says
in
it
here?
with, like I think the actor does a really good job with this because he says it with an air of desperation. There's
Yeah.
clearly like pain behind that. It's just awful because he's being so terrible and he's like, starting these rumors and he's being weird about it. But
Well, he's
I just
obviously
really feel like he's in
homosexual.
pain.
You know,
I
the director.
I don't think he's a homosexual, but I think he's like preoccupied with them.
He delivered it in that way with the pain. The director's like, whoa, that is way too intense for the role we gave
Steiger.
you. What's going on, man?
Look, you're going to one day be in Back to the Future and Top Gun. You need to hold a little bit back for those two movies.
Yeah.
I also always think, like, you only have so many crime-busting dollars to spend in a day, and you're spending so many dollars trying to bust cops.
Not corrupt, not the
could-
corrupt cops, but the cops who are maybe making each other's day a little easier to get through.
Right? Why are you spending dollars this way? Like, It's so crazy to
Meanwhile,
me.
it's like they're not sucking each other's dick. They're peeping on a lady across the street.
They're doing something much
okay?
worse.
That's the straightest fucking thing you can do.
They're buzzing her tower.
Christ. All right. Your nominees for biggest shithead of 1973, besides Reagan, who's coming, gentlemen. He's coming.
He's coming. He's coming.
Burke Dennings from The Exorcist, Hippie at Party from The Last Detail, Terry Lennox from The Long Goodbye, Parsons from Enter the Dragon, and Steiger from Serpico. And I think that I'm going to open the envelope here, and I think that you can feel exactly what we're feeling on the inside when I announce the winner as Hippie at Party from The Last Detail.
Hell yeah.
How dare you, sir? How
We hate
dare
what
you
we are.
question the motives of our boys in uniform? So, moving on to round 2, battle 3. We have Coffy versus The Harder They Come. Number 34 seed Coffy versus number 42 seed The Harder They Come. Seems harsh they have to go against each other now, but have to decide. They're both these kind of like sleepy little movies with a lot of rough edges and a lot of heart. Mike, do you feel like when you see these two movies, you have a clear idea which way you want to go, or does it take some consideration?
It takes some consideration, but by the time you asked me that question, my consideration was done.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a very little consideration.
Yeah.
You
but
could
it's
say
not,
no consideration
it's
instead
not
of that whole
instant.
sentence.
No, it's not instant. I wanted to show the whole process to the listeners. It wasn't instant, but it was a few seconds. Look, one of these movies taught us anything can go in a shotgun. And one of these movies taught us reggae, it's coming to America. We love Pam Grier.
Objection.
We love her coffee.
Objection. Reggae could go into a shotgun, and you could blast that person with reggae.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man. One love. 2 barrels, one love.
That's
The
the
Greg
sequel to
Heinlein
both of
story.
these movies. But I think for what it's doing, like formally, and what it did historically, I think it has to be The Harder They Come.
Ryan, could you tell in all that windup what way he was going to fall?
Absolutely.
No, I
not.
like to keep it close to the vest.
Because then I didn't mean that as any sort of criticism, but I just feel like, to me, there's not a lot of daylight between these movies in terms of my enjoyment or how important I think they are. And so I could have seen him kind of coming down on either side there.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, like, I could not tell at all, Mike. And I think that's because the movies are so themselves, right, of their own piece. These are two of the movies that we were talking about earlier. And by that, by earlier, I mean
Couple
2 weeks ago when we were saying, like, maybe not the, like, classiest filmmaking, but definitely better than the sum of their parts. And I think when we try to be a director-focused show, but when we're talking about these two movies, we're basically talking about Jimmy Cliff versus Pam Grier. Yes?
Okay, yeah.
Well,
I think that we're... What, Mike?
Well, why I think I voted is if it's Pam Grier versus Jimmy Cliff, I think it's a much harder fight for me. I was trying to think more DVD, and then I'd lean towards harder.
DVD?
Director versus director.
Oh.
DVD is
that's another different...
It's a thing for movies.
Digital
one did
video
I
games.
was trying to think of what extra features were better.
The director's commentary on both of these DVDs would be great. Like, well, what I was doing when I was directing both of these movies.
Edgar Wright?
And I think that these are two actors that overpower their directors. Like, these two actors are shining past whatever their directors are doing. When their directors are clearly making poorer decisions, these actors are pulling their directors up by their bootstraps and saying, hey, no, follow me, buddy. I will take you with me. These are novice actors who are eschewing like proper training and saying my star power.
My personality is enough.
Yeah, my personality, my branding, whatever you want to call it,
Je ne sais
is going to carry us through these movies. And like I'm, whatever aside, I'm kind of stoked that these two movies are together because like they really are comparable. Also, like they are two musicals in a way. In one, because it's about a musician. It's a musician in a music movie, and then two, in the blaxploitation style of the soundtrack we're soundtrack forward in Coffy, right? In the tradition of Shaft and Superfly, we're going to put the soundtrack forward. Coffy, I talked about how I'm not the biggest fan. I think that you guys liked it a little bit more than I did. But like the music is always going to be up front. I think that ultimately, when it comes down to me, I have to go with Pam Grier more, and I have to go with the plot and the idea. There's more ideas going on in Coffy. I think that although Jimmy Cliff is amazing, and I think that there are so many musical moments in The Harder They Come that it just drags too often. There's just not enough there. Whereas in Coffy, I think that they both do a great job of like saying we have a lot to say about like what's going on in our two particular societies. Coffy just is doing more often.
See, that's what to me it's, and this is of a lover of Coffy. I feel like what it's trying to say about society is a little cheese dickier than what the harder they come. I feel like the package is less eye rolly than Coffy can be.
That like
delivering.
The way it portrays how the forces that make it difficult to live in Jamaica aren't as two-dimensional as like bad guys kind of stroking their mustache being like, and now we're going to make things worse.
And that's, I like the cartoony bad guys, but they are cartoony in Coffy. King George aside. And I think The Harder They Come, I think just tells a more natural story overall. Watching this guy both be beaten down and then become the villain of the story.
I mean, the bad guy of The Harder They... I totally get what you're saying. I totally, like... I'm talking a lot about entertainment value here. But the studio, the record owner, the studio exec of The Harder They Come might as well be played by a cat who is fat in a suit with a cigar.
Yeah, where's his diamond skull cane?
Right.
No, for sure. I just think in general, I would say The Harder They Come is more nuanced than Coffy. Man, have we agreed once this whole season about
I don't think so.
anything? It's wild for you to be like, and these guys liked Coffy more than me. I'm voting for Coffy. It's fucking crazy.
And so it comes to me, and it comes to my decision, and this is a very difficult one for me. And I'm moved by both of your arguments. And Mike, I see where you're going, and I think I really respect the idea that there is a more nuanced telling of the problems of the world in The Harder They Come. So I think what I'm going to let decide it for me is I think Coffy is a bigger movie. I think Coffy is maybe more important to cinema, not by a lot, and is more important to the types of movies that we watch as well. Like, I mean, we are, for better or worse, we're definitely Quentin Tarantino boys, and this is like the type of
little cutie boys.
Yeah, little cutie heads. But this is the hardest vote I've had to make. But I think I am going to go with Coffy. Whew, tough stuff for Mr. Does not ever want to make a decision.
This feels, all season I felt weirdly out of step, and I've not known why. I loved Coffy, one of my favorite movies we watched this season, and somehow I still come off losing, and this is fucking crazy. I cannot wait for this season to be done.
It's been a tough season. I think we've all had to learn a lot. When we come back, we have yet another matchup, and then we're going to give away our Musical Moment Award. That sounds interesting. Our next matchup is Mean Streets, our number 3 seed, versus our number 11 seed, Paper Moon. Now, this late into the finale episodes, it would be rude for me to dispense with one of these movies by saying slam dunk. But I have this feeling that Paper Moon didn't blow anybody away. We all thought it was a nice little movie versus Mean Streets, which I felt like kind of is blown us away, kind of swept us off our feet. Do you agree with that, Ryan?
No, I will say that Paper Moon blew me away, for sure. But I think that in our episode, we focus so much on the awful people around Tatum O'Neal. So
I'm starting to worry about that.
No. It's important to talk about, and I think that that legacy will never leave that movie, and that sucks. But it doesn't suck because of us. It sucks because of them.
We didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, hey,
You can't forget about it. Like, there's no turning that part of your brain off.
and like you know, like we talked about it a lot, and it's important. If the next time Paper Moon comes out and they don't want us to talk about that instead of the movie, don't do that is my advice. But no, Paper Moon blew me away for sure.
Same.
I just think that Mean Streets is an all-time fucking crazy-ass movie.
It's
Mean Streets is almost too perfect.
This is a weird fight. It's the two shows I missed, and being
wow.
and
No
being,
wonder you're so out of step.
Shout out to Nate and Taylor for
who
helping
said,
us
"Can
out."
we be on?" And I killed them both. But being on an episode of Movie of the Year does change how you approach the movie. Like, even though I'm like, you got to think about it. But watching it alone, knowing I can't talk about it until who knows how long, it does change the experience. I too was blown away by Paper Moon. Listening to the episode, I knew nothing about the movie because you guys didn't talk about the movie at all. But I think it is phenomenal.
Wait, hold on. Psychopath. Did you listen to the podcast before you watched the movie?
I did for that one, not for Mean Streets, though.
That's insane. Did you listen to the Mean Streets episode yet?
No. I meant to. Didn't get to it.
All psychopath behavior.
It's all psychopath behavior. But I think Paper Moon is, here is a genre. Here is how you do a perfect movie in that genre. And Mean Streets is, here is a very messy movie, but I'm carving out the modern version of a gangster movie, and nobody can fucking touch what I've done so far. And I do think that is more impressive. The mess is more impressive than the perfection for me.
And I love comparing. We have to compare Mean Streets to Paper Moon. Yes?
I mean,
for
legally.
sure.
Liter-
Now more than ever.
Now more than ever, literally, that's our job right now. But also, I love comparing Paper Moon to Mean Streets to The Sting, which is 1973 doing 1920 ?
Mm-hmm.
And then also The Long Goodbye, which is 1973 doing 1940s in 1973. And then American Graffiti doing 1973 doing 1962. Like, how much are you trying to do now and then? How much of now and then are you trying to do at the same time? Right? So Paper Moon is trying to recreate a movie that came out then, as opposed to The Long Goodbye, which is trying to do a movie, the most now movie that's ever existed, with then elements.
Yeah, a character that like wakes up from the 40s in the 70s.
And
exactly, right. And Mean Streets
is saying fuck then.
Right. Even though it's a movie that takes place like 8 years before the movie came out.
But it's still very 1973.
But it's the most 1973 movie that will ever exist. Like, it's so 1973 that it basically gives birth to every movie that comes out after that, because Scorsese is so influential to everything that comes out after that. You know, but like, how now are you by showing the past? And that's how Scorsese and Altman and Bogdanovich are in conversation with each other at this time.
Wow, it almost feels like if you look at the movies that we did for this season, that the directors didn't have much to say about 73. Like, I felt like the 75 movies were all about 75. But these 73 movies, it feels like they're all, you know, I want to talk about 10 years ago, 8 years ago,
and
15 years ago.
Yeah, I forgot somebody when I said that. How Scorsese and Bogdanovich and Altman are in conversation with each other at the same time with George Lucas. That's still crazy.
All right, well, what is it going to be? Mean Streets or Paper Moon, Ryan?
I mean, I've always been fascinated by this movie. Like, I think it's better than Goodfellas. It's Mean Streets.
Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Unfortunately, we don't do across years, so there'll be no way to tell. Mike, what do you say?
I too declare for Mean Streets. Hey, we agreed on something.
Hey, my vote unnecessary, but it also would have gone to Mean Streets, which means Mike, you and I are also
yay.
Ryan, I'm so glad we just talked about Mean Streets, because now we're going into musical moment, and I wonder if any of the Mean Streets musical moments will be our nominees.
As it has been declared, the movie that invented pop music in feature films.
Yes.
Pop music.
Let's see if
The same way The Harder They Come invented reggae for all time.
and Paper Moon invented that thing where you sing into a megaphone into a recorder and go.
Now I sound really old-timey.
Now I'm gonna sing a song to my lady. Greg, your first nominee is Ivan performs "The Harder They Come" in the movie "The Harder They Come."
Yeah. It's so interesting because this movie, he's like, I'm a star. He keeps saying it, and anybody who says that, you're like, shut up. Like, you're not. You're nobody.
Also, he says it the amount where no movie can live up to how much he says it.
And then he performs, and within like 2 seconds of seeing the way he stands on stage, the way he holds his face while he sings, you're like, oh, wow, no, okay, yeah, you are 100% an incandescent star. Like, there's no doubt about that at all. You are the real deal, and in any just world, you would skyrocket to the top of a meritocracy because there's not a better performer around than you.
And it hits harder because the movie very deftly makes us wait. I think a lesser movie would give us that in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and it just keeps being like, nah, we're going to build up their expectations to thinking he sucks.
I got to agree with that, Mike.
Yes.
Mike. Well, Mike, they say that's because Reggae, who they nicknamed Bruce on the set, was broken. So they had to hold that off until... Mike, the next nominee, I feel like this is where we're creating Martin Scorsese right here. They hooked up a camera to Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
And they made him walk around. And so we're getting the camera's facing him, and he's walking around, and we see this in countless Martin Scorsese movies from here on out, where he's getting drunk, and he's walking around, and we're hearing the song Rubber Biscuit while he gets drunk as fuck at a party.
What I love about this scene is, one, it's fun, and this movie doesn't have a lot of fun moments.
Yeah.
And so it totally shifts because you need that palate cleanser for a second. But also, I didn't know that Rubber Biscuit was a song that the Blues Brothers... that I didn't know it was older than them.
I don't know if we should talk about the Blues Brothers right now.
No, I know. It's a touchy subject for us specifically. But I set up and went, what?
They didn't write any song.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Which I've said, but for some reason, this one, I was like, well, that dumb one was probably them. And I know Ryan loves that song. But yeah, it was a truly delightful, important moment of this movie.
Unlike the Decemberists, who wrote all their songs, and we wish that anyone else had written their songs.
It's so weird how little
the
you know
Decemberists.
about anything.
I love the Decemberists.
Yeah, they use more than 3 chords, which bothers Ryan.
Greg,
We're not supposed to open up this whole can of worms.
Greg, the next nominee is from the film Mean Streets, which put pop music into their movie. It's when Johnny Boy enters the bar. It's a Jumpin' Jack Flash, and that Harvey Keitel leaning on the bar. Camera comes in.
Yeah, and we get like the entering the busy bar shot. A lot of energy, a lot of excitement. Is this where he's not wearing pants?
Robert De Niro is not wearing pants. Yeah.
Yeah, which he just thinks is the funniest thing.
Dude.
Hey, back in your early 20s, it is hilarious to show up without pants places.
But you can feel, we all had that friend. I didn't, but you two did. We all had that friend where it'd be like, hold on, I'm not being funny enough when I come into this bar. What if I fucking took off my pants?
What if I took off my pants?
And then you go into the bar. And then, the other thing, too, is that, the Rolling Stones is fucking nuts back then to, instead of, John Williams blaring a score, shut the fuck up, John Williams. It's the Rolling Stones. And then the other thing, too, is just, blaring red, not a red tone. The light is blaring red.
Yeah. Didn't we say when we did this movie that, half the budget is securing the rights to the songs that are in it?
Yeah. Mike, next nominee is Oodalali from Robin Hood.
Hell yeah, it is. Look, the one thing I will fully stand behind that is great about this movie is the rooster, who is amazing, and Oodalali. If you're around my house, you're going to hear variations of this song all of the time. Because oodalali, golly, what a day.
Wife, I poodalali.
Golly, what a day.
And it certainly dominated that episode.
Yes.
Yes.
The melody is catchy. It's an earworm. It's simple but beautiful. It's great.
Greg, the final nominee is Coffy. Looks at the camera and she's like, who the fuck is this King George? Cut to car pulls into a parking lot with a song called King George blaring.
I feel like this movie has a weird relationship with King George at times, almost making him feel like the star of the movie. And this song is totally a way in which it's done. There are two different songs about Coffy. They both pale in comparison to this. And it helps introduce this immense respect that the movie has for the character that ends up rubbing off on the audience whether you want it to or not. He shows up in this bomb limo with his song playing. He gets out. He's got all the trappings of... He's wearing a little capelet over one shoulder. He just looks like the man. And it's for a second, this movie's not called Coffy. It's called King George. And I just think that's a really smart move, and they achieve that through a lot of things, including this cool musical moment.
Do you know what it's almost like? It's almost like you're a screenwriter, and you have to write Cyclops from X-Men or Jack from Lost, and there's so much pressure because they're the leader that you just don't. You literally don't write them. You're the soundtrack guy, you're the score writer, you're the the music supervisor, and Shaft came out and Superfly came out, and you're like, there's too much pressure. This movie's called Coffy. I can't do it. Oh, but there's this side character, King George. I can do that. I can the main character. There's too much pressure, so I'm just Coffy, Coffy, baby. But King George, I'm gonna nail that. Your nominees for musical moment are Ivan performs "The Heart of the Come" from "The Heart of the Come." From Mean Streets, we have Charlie gets drunk to Rubber Biscuit, and Johnny Boy enters the bar to Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones. Oodalolly from Robin Hood, and King George rolls into his parking spot from Coffy. And the winner is, I feel like, almost as much as the sex scene from Don't Look Now. It's Ivan performs "The Harder They Come" from "The Harder They Come."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many great musical moments from this year. A lot of bad music, but a lot of good musical moments. But this was just the premier one. I mean, it takes a lot of the space of the movie. He's performing this song for, 6 minutes of actual screen time.
The other thing that it does too for the movie is every time he makes a step down the road to hell, you're like, no, bro, but you were so good at that music.
You're so good.
Go
so
back
good.
towards that.
So let's move on to round 3. This is Battle 1, round 3. And we've got two of our creepies going off against each other. Number 1, The Exorcist. Number 4, Don't Look Now.
Ooh.
Now, again, we're talking about Exorcist. Really big movie. But I feel like as a group, we liked Don't Look Now just a little bit more. Mike, do you disagree with that?
I agree with you when you say the group seems to like Don't Look Now. I would say Mike votes for Exorcist.
Yeah. Ryan, I feel like we were both on the Don't Look Now train. Sometimes you seemed like the conductor. Sometimes I was. But does it run out of track here against The Exorcist?
No. As the person who liked The Exorcist the most, I would say, hey, Exorcist train, I'm going to pull your track up off the ground, and your track is done.
It's gone.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
No.
No, I would say that this is where The Exorcist stops being a great James Cameron movie or great movie, and now Don't Look Now is a better movie.
Ooh, okay. You seem to be tiptoeing around that. You seem to be trying to gather the steam to say it.
I just didn't know how to keep the analogy going, to keep going choo choo. But yeah, this is when The Exorcist to me starts to become, the James Cameron blockbuster. And sure, there's evil on your film. That's cool. But Don't Look Now is to me the holy moly, what happened here?
I would, and I know this is going to come out belittling, and it's not my intention. I would love to know if your opinion of Don't Look Now would be the same 5 years ago. If you were not the father of a young child, if it would.
But don't both of these play on the having a child angle? One is the child suffering. The other is the child has a terrible accident and dies.
But I feel like that feels like a more opaque experience for anybody the dying one for anybody to experience where the child's suffering. It feels like anybody could be like, well, I care about people who suffer. Like, I don't know. They don't feel that comparable to me. I feel like non-parents can relate to The Exorcist more than Don't Look Now.
To be honest with you, Mike, the daughter dying is not that big of a part of the movie to me. I think it's the cracking of the psyche, the cracking of relationships that is the biggest deal. Like like I said before in last week's episode, the universality of the my brain is breaking because I don't get what's going on, or I get what's going on too much but not enough. As Greg is always talking about this movie when he says the scene a little bit too much is always worse than seeing not enough. That's what the movie does incredible. Like, I maybe just don't see it all then. That's what I think the movie does. Like, how this movie breaks this marriage apart immediately and then brings them so close together in the sex scene just to have them actually never be close is what does it.
I think you articulating what works for you, I agree with, and also highlights why I'm more down on this movie, because for every amazing Julie Christie, Donald Sutherland scene there's ooh, this lady's blind and spooky, and it feels like the Haunted Mansion from Disneyland for a second, and those moments
ringing a bell
undercut, I think, the powerful, awesome acting moments and the friction of being so close to somebody and not being able to connect. It just undercuts it.
Well, I think it's time to just make the tough decision. Mike, I think I know what way you're going to go, but the listeners are not as clever as I am. What moves forward for you?
They didn't listen when earlier I said my vote is for The Exorcist.
Yes. Yeah, they probably weren't paying attention because they don't know. They're doing the dishes or something. Ryan, I think I know what way you are going, but again, our listeners are confused, furrowing their brows in a vain attempt to understand.
Yeah.
They're hearing.
I feel like The Long Goodbye would have been a really agreeable movie for all three of us, but unfortunately, it's gone, and I'm going to vote for...
It's fucking crazy. I would have bet $100 every week this whole season that would be the movie of the year 1973, and it's gone.
Before the season, I definitely would have said it, yeah.
I said before the season that it would be Don't Look Now, and my vote is Don't Look Now.
Yep, and Don't Look Now moves on because it is also my vote. Yeah, before the season started, I would have bet seriously like $1,000 that Long Goodbye was going to win. And then I saw Don't Look Now, and I was like, uh-oh, we might have a little something here, a little something, something. So Don't Look Now moves on. When we come back, we're going to give out our award for Best Axeman, and then we are going to have our penultimate battle after this. Actors. Without them, it would just be a bunch of actresses. Well, actually, that sounds pretty good. Well, actors. We got them. Ryan, who are some of the best?
Look, listen. This is the one thing I will say about 73. Every year, at the end of the year, every year is great. But not every year produces these stars. Like, we are definitely losing stars. And at a certain point, every Oscar is going to be like Best Actor, Timothée Chalamet 5 times.
Don't sleep on
this
Dylan O'Brien.
Okay, you're just making that name up. Every year is... this was a year of stars. I cannot believe this actor lineup. Here we go. Greg,
yes.
Don't Look Now, but it's Donald Sutherland with his very fake curly hair up top and his very real curly hair down on the bottom.
I grew up with a different version of Donald Sutherland, not this sensualist that 73 gave to us. But he has so much that he has to do in this movie, and the number one thing is you see him be so confused, and then you also see him like calm himself down about how confused he is.
Deep breaths.
Like, he's so busy keeping himself moving forward that he never pays attention to what he's moving forward to. And that's the whole movie, really. And he does that in his performance very effectively. And that scene where he finds his daughter, like, I think actors want to do big emotional scenes, but I don't honestly think that a lot of people want to confront that kind of terribleness as an artist and really get in touch with it. And he wails and moans in a way that I think must touch on some real grief inside him, and it feels like watching him conjure that.
For it to be
so
big, without going over the top and like cheesy, is incredibly impressive.
When he said, "Why my daughter? Why not Kiefer?"
Yeah.
Yes. Which I think we all kind of are thinking,
Yeah.
right? It's hard
Right.
not in that moment.
Well, he knew that one day he would represent America's love of torture, and that was hard to deal with.
Also, I think we should point out that he did his own stunt when he was hanging above the church floor and apparently was in grave danger the entire time.
Like, there's certain things you're supposed to ignore when voting, but like
That's hard.
when the judge says strike that from your
Never.
mind, sometimes you can't.
You just don't. Yeah. You're like, okay.
Sure.
Give him a big thumbs up.
Curly-haired brethren, Mike. It's Elliot Gould, that sexy Grover love monster.
To be such a sex symbol, despite what we think of as sex symbols, to be so suave and not like his peaks and valleys are much narrower than Sutherland's.
No peaks, no
peaks,
valleys.
no valleys, but
What's the Smallville thing?
no flights, no tights, no coca nights.
That's
And that's what he does.
is that the worst sleepover? No Cocoa
No
Nights.
coca nights.
He can light a match on anything.
He can light a match on anything. He's fine with everything.
It's okay. It's okay by him.
But it's to somehow still be so mellow and so magnetic is incredibly impressive.
He's got that Columbo energy that now I think is being kept alive by Natasha Lyonne in Poker Face, where he's just like, throughout the whole conversation, he just seems to
Confused.
be being dumb and useless. And then at the end, he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way," and then asks like a question that cuts right to the heart of the matter.
That also cripples the person emotionally.
Yeah, it's just like being quiet. People think you're stupid, but it means that you're the smartest. I saw this commercial
That's why I
for
talk so much.
Old Navy.
Yeah.
I think Natasha Lyonne.
And Natasha
that
Lyonne,
what
the
she's
two
doing
of
now?
them.
Who's the other
It's
one?
both her. She plays two characters.
Another Natasha
Oh.
Lyonne.
Okay,
She's
Natasha
like excited
Lyonne.
to see herself.
I get it.
Where she's like, "Hey, I have a sled full of Old Navy because I'm dragging it. Also, I stole it." And it's because her voice, because of her voice, that just means that she steals
Yeah.
shit. That's what the commercial's about.
Dirty 1940s New York voice. Of course she steals shit.
She sounds like the Grinch, so therefore she must be like the Grinch. She's the missing Marge sister.
Greg, before I tell you this next nominee, I want to point out that Robert De Niro from Mean Streets was neither nominated for Best Supporting Actor nor Best Actor.
Nor Biggest Shithead. Johnny
That's
Boy was not
surprising.
nominated for Biggest Shithead. Yeah.
I do think that there was a cabal created by you two to not talk about Johnny Boy at any point tonight.
I hate him
I
so
think he
much,
should
Ryan.
be
Yeah.
biggest shithead.
Yeah, I think I think he could have been Biggest Shithead, and we said that a lot on the show. It didn't work out for him, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just like I am glad not to talk about this guy.
I'm not
My
shocked.
monkey brain chicken head
Mhm.
mostly thinks that you two think of yourselves as Charlie and me as the Johnny Boy, and you don't want to talk about me,
No.
but you do want to slap me in the face a lot, like Charlie does to Johnny Boy, basically from start to finish of this movie.
Greg is Charlie. You're Johnny Boy. I'm that guy, the mook behind the bar who everybody disrespects.
With the big
Yeah.
belly that gets in a weird fight. Yeah.
Who buys it? No, the big boy that owns the bar, or I was going to say that Mike is the guy who just buys a tiger and lays in the cage with it.
The
Hell
guy
yeah.
that says Mook. The guy that says Mook so much that as the viewer you have to stop and look up Mook to make sure it's not
Am I allowed to
like,
say this?
somehow racist.
Because I'm going to call my neighbor
Greg is Charlie because, and this is who you're supposed to talk about, Greg. Greg is Charlie because he is a Charlie on the streets, but then in the sheets, he is in a church burning himself.
This is what hell would feel like. Ooh, too hot.
Is this the Harvey Keitel that we know? Is this the actor?
As a young man, I feel like I only knew Harvey Keitel as like the wolf. Like as a guy
Yeah.
who comes in and owns a scene. And watching this, I'm like, oh, I get why so many directors in the 90s were like, can we get Keitel? I'd never got it
Yeah.
before now.
He's
It's
amazing.
a complicated character to play, and he explores all the corners of it.
All right, Mikey, let's do this with grace and aplomb.
Only way I do anything.
Marlon Brando from Last Tango in Paris.
Yeah, I would. Now I'm starting to think if I'm a bad person because I can watch Paper Moon and ignore what Ryan O'Brien did, and I can watch Last Tango. I think I found it much harder.
But you can watch Marlon
Marlon
from...
in Last Tango. It takes a little more work, but yeah, this guy is acting his gross balls off and does such a good job. There's only one scene that rubbed me the wrong way, and I remember us talking about it. But even in that scene, I think some of his best acting and some of his worst acting when he's talking to his wife's corpse. Some of his best acting because he's emoting and he's in it. Some of his worst acting because you can see him looking for his next note card to remind him of his line.
Where's my sides? Where's my sides? And when he says "Where's my sides," he means where's his script, and then also where's his KFC mac and cheese. Because he's fat.
Green beans casserole. This role reminded me of a lot of. We talked about all the cameos in what Young Professional Woman. What was the Emerald Fennell movie? Promising Young Woman.
Shit.
And a lot of the guys who embraced "I'm going to be a piece of shit" did best, and the ones who were like, "I'm worried that Christopher Mintz-Plasse was
straddling the line,
worried how people might think he's a piece of shit." Fuck that! You're not going to be a good actor then. And this performance reminded me of that, or maybe theirs retroactively reminded me.
Because he leans into it.
He just owns no part of Marlon Brando. The guy feels self-conscious about how Paul will come off. He knows exactly how Paul is supposed to come off. And his comfort in that and owning that shitheadedness is magical.
I'm a little surprised by this nomination because you guys are you guys keep Woody Allen out of every season of Moody.
Yeah.
That's true. At this point, that's got so much momentum, though, that it feels very hard to go back on. Be like, well, okay, Sleeper. Let's let Sleeper in, but the rest of it was...
Greg, the final nominee, and I'm going to go back to a quote from Mike from this episode or a previous episode, who said that the movie and the character that Jack Nicholson played in The Last Detail is better than Cuckoo's Nest and Randall McMurtry from The Last Detail. Do you agree with that?
It's hard because I think I like the character in this one more, but I don't think that that's necessarily makes him a better character. I think I like the character from Cuckoo's Nest, or like I think that's a better performance. Yeah. But I don't mean that as a way to take anything away from this. I think it's a masterful performance, and it's interesting, and it feels like, part of what we've been talking about tonight is like performances that haven't ossified yet, like actors that have strong personalities in other roles, but they haven't like adopted them yet in 73. And I feel like we can see that a more plastic version of him in this, and it's interesting and compelling, and I think it's way more on the charm side. And I think that's what makes it a more likable role.
We talked about 2 weeks ago the scene where William Finley from Sisters falls over, and I just gave that the funniest scene of the year. But them getting drunk in that hotel and how that is like the true, because movies always get alcohol and drugs wrong.
Right. Yeah,
but that is drinking.
That's because no one in Hollywood has any experience with those things.
Yeah, they're all squares.
They've never done that before. Your nominees for Best Actor are Donald Sutherland from Don't Look Now, Elliot Gould from The Long Goodbye, Harvey Keitel from Mean Streets, Marlon Brando from Last Tango in Paris, and Jack Nicholson from The Last Detail. And your winner is Marlon Brando from Last Tango in Paris.
That's pretty surprising.
Wow. I mean, you don't have to like anything about the movie. Like, it's hard to deny that this is a masterful performance.
Yes, I agree.
And I think, Mike, what to add to what you were saying, I don't think he is comfortable in this role. And I think that he's doing all this in spite of that. Like, he's able to make us feel like on some level he must be super comfortable pretending like her fingers are deep in his ass and he's talking about making her eat pig vomit. And actually, inside, that is like tearing him apart to do, but he's just committed to it. Like, I think that he puts himself through a lot to do this role.
The other thing too that I don't know if we talked about on the Last Tango episode is that we find out at the end that he's a fucking loser. Not a loser.
Dude, he's a huge loser.
He's just a basic guy. Like, he tries to come off as like this like swarthy sexual guy, but he's like as basic can get. Like, he's an accountant in Modesto, essentially, right? Like he sucks.
Yeah.
But we, as humans, have seen him in On the Waterfront and Streetcar Named Desire. We know him to be at one point, the sexiest guy that has ever lived.
And
now
inside that room, he is.
We've watched him be the sexiest guy that has ever lived. And so he is competing with his own past as an actor.
It's very
Marlon
Newman's
Brando.
own in The Verdict. The dealing with everything else that came before.
So you can't call him Paul Newman. You just call him by his
Paul, thank you.
dressing
Paul,
name.
thank you. He was just bigger in my life for so many years as the salad dressing.
As the dressing
Sure.
guy. Anytime you're in the grocery store.
I will say that he made better popcorn than salad dressing.
You're one of those.
Okay, let's not get waylaid here.
No. This should be its own segment.
Our deepest remaining seed, number 34, Coffy, is going up against number 3, Mean Streets. Here it is. I mean, this is like really getting down to it. Is Coffy, Ryan? Do you feel like this is the end of the road for Coffy? It's run out of gas here.
This is, I mean, again, this is where we say we try. I don't think we always succeed. In fact, I think we often fail.
No.
But we try to be a show about filmmakers. And Coffy doesn't have one. And we love Pam Grier.
We love
Steals
her
the
so
show.
much.
We're Greer guys.
Owns the camera. Like, she's an amazing star. Going to be an actress 30 years, 40 years later in Jackie Brown, right?
She will pick up the craft eventually.
But Mean Streets has a filmmaker who is not perfect yet, but is doing things that like will change cinema forever. Coffy doesn't have a shot.
Is it at all surprising to think Mean Streets is 50 years ago? Probably, maybe, the best movie of 1973. This same dude made what might be
The best movie of
2023's movie of the year.
It's
I
so
don't care
fucked
here
up.
I mean,
knows
he
it,
is-
here who hears it. I think he might be one of the best filmmakers to ever live. And I know that's unpopular.
Mike,
I'm going out on that limb.
Mike,
You can't
Mike,
say that.
you have neighbors. You need to
care.
quiet your voice.
Oh, they're pulling out guns. And they're shoving so many different things into their shotguns.
Oh no, we know how that works.
No, but honestly, the fact that Scorsese might lose all the awards this year to Christopher Nolan
Ew.
while Trump wins the presidency is just the fact that God does exist and hates my tiny red ass.
He hates what you're all about.
He fucking hates my ass.
We can draw it out for suspense sake, but there's no way, right? I mean, this just is Mean Streets.
No, I mean, like, I do wish that there's so many things that I have made in my life where I wish that before I made them, I had seen 12 things. And I wish that the director of Coffy had watched Mean Streets 12 times.
Unfortunately, that's not how the time worked out. Ryan, Mean Streets for you?
It is Mean Streets for me.
Mike, Mean Streets for you?
Yeah, pretend everything Ryan said about it, I said twice as smart and 3 times as funny. Mean Streets is my vote.
And 5 times as loud. Let's just keep going. Let's move right into Best Actress. Ryan, who are our candidates for Best Actress?
Greg, I know that you're bursting for a segue, and I'll give you one. Because
All right.
Ellen was the star of The Exorcist.
And she really was.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take anything away from Lil Baby Linda Blair, who had obviously a lot on her shoulders in this movie, but I don't think that's who we're supposed to connect to, and I don't think the movie is in any way made like we are supposed to connect to Linda Blair. We're supposed to connect to her poor
Yeah,
mother.
because she's the monster.
Who...
Linda Blair's the monster. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Ellen Burstyn as I have to watch my daughter go through this, and nobody can do anything for her except hurt her
More, yeah.
and then tell me like, well, we got to try something else now. And she's like, to watch her fall apart in a way that mirrors what Linda Blair is going through. It's the human stakes are what makes The Exorcist work on an actual like real life level.
It's such a drag that horror as a genre forgot what this movie did well, what Shining did well, and then Halloween did it is get a really good actor to star in your fucking movie, guys, and that'll really help.
I think that the thing that they've been doing is casting Toni Collette.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one who's like, and this has been happening
new horror
since the
started to
mid-90s.
remember,
With The Sixth Sense, is like Toni Collette is very capable and one of our best. This is the only nominee, by the way, that was actually nominated. I didn't do this for Best Actor. Marlon Brando, Jack Nicholson were nominated. We did not nominate Al Pacino and Robert Redford. And Jack Lemmon won for Save the Tiger.
The movie I heard about
that's
right
bound
now.
to happen.
Mike, the next nominee is Julie Christie for Don't Look Now.
Yeah, I think it's so easy. Our focal point character is Donald Sutherland more than Julie Christie, but she is and he gets like the bigger like scenes, both in fear and emotion, and I think she very quietly pins this movie down and makes it what it is. I think a different actress this movie would not be as high in your esteem for the two of you. I think she crushes and does a very quiet grief.
And also, those two sisters that come, like she believes them, and you don't believe them, but you believe she believes them because of her deep grief and
how suddenly joyous she is at this idea that she's going to be able to contact her daughter again against the nihilism of Sutherland, who is like nothing even
to
matters.
Make joy scary. I think it's very hard, and she doesn't.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like the Midsummer thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, she smiles a little bit too big. It's like, what is there to be so excited about here?
And I get where her husband is coming from, but as somebody who is not her husband, I'd rather her be happy than not.
Yeah.
Right?
Be happy and believe in your bullshit that doesn't exist.
Astrologist. Greg, the next nominee is Margot Kidder from Sisters.
Okay, first of all, it has to be pointed out. She's doing double duty here. Okay, she's playing two different characters, two different personalities.
Margot Kidder and Margot Kidder.
Do you think she gave Christopher Reeves a lot of tips for playing two characters later down the road?
Okay, this one, put glasses on. The other one, don't wear glasses.
The one without glasses stabs people in the dick.
But even within, being just the one character, she plays like so many different shades. And I feel like she understood the type of movie she was in. When she's the evil sister and the hair is down over her eyes, she's good at having that feral, crazed, stabby look. And then back to the innocent, like, oh, I don't get what's going on. But I found her very magnetic in this movie.
I mean, like, even down to, like, don't have a good French accent.
No.
Have a Sisters movie level French accent, Like
that beautiful Quebecois accent that is known all the world over.
Mike, we're not the Oscars.
Hell yeah.
We're better.
Rub it in.
So we don't give Tatum O'Neal Best Supporting Actress when she is clearly the lead of the film. We nominate her for Best Actress. We don't say like, oh, you're 12, so you get, or 8
so
or
absurd.
whatever.
Yeah, not only is she the lead actress, she's the lead of the entire movie.
Yeah,
so
she's the protagonist.
How dare you belittle her by giving her supporting? This movie would be not trash without her. Everybody else is doing a really fine job. But the minute you meet her and she has that scowl on her face, endlessly watchable. And this feels like every kid actor that came after this had such a huge hole to fill. Like, they could not do it. Kevin McAllister is dog shit compared to this little troublemaker.
You know what it is? Their directors looked at their performances and went, okay, I guess that's the best it's going to be.
And they didn't torture
Bogdanovich was like, we will literally stay here all day until you do this correct.
Maybe as Chris Columbus fucking tortured those kids, the first couple of Harry Potters would be better.
Chris Columbus watched this movie and said, oh, fuck, I am the worst Christopher Columbus to ever live. If I saw this movie, if I was the maker of To Kill a Mockingbird, the director, and I was like, oh, fuck, I made that movie too soon. Watching Tatum O'Neal in this movie.
Oh, man, that's good.
She's so sharp. She's funny without doing much. You can see how she's taking in the entire world and knows how to play it. And again, without like waggling her eyebrows. Like, I don't know how this kid is conveying everything she does. Torture. It's torture.
So you are backing up torture. You think it's a good
I think
idea.
this movie says it's worth it. And 24 says it's how we won the war on terror.
Paper Moon was Tatum O'Neal's first movie. Last Tango in Paris, Greg, was Maria Schneider's first movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like, if anything comes out of this movie that is to feel joyous about, it's her performance and how... I don't know, it's one of those performances where, like, obviously this is not a accomplished actress. This is not somebody with a lot of experience. And then you realize, like, how much more real the performance can be from someone who's not quite as practiced, and maybe a little bit more alive in the moment. She's a bright spot, and that just sort of underscores what's so upsetting about what happened to her. But she gamely makes it all the way through the entire movie and comes out as certainly the more interesting character. I mean, that's like the switch that takes place. You see her be completely subservient to him all the way to like abandoning him, just trying to get him off her case, quite literally. And she's able to carry that across all throughout the movie.
And for such a young actor to be able to go toe to toe with one of like the biggest stars in Hollywood for decades and be able to hold her own and make him keep up is wild.
I mean, this is in between not that he's in Godfather Part 2, but in between Godfather and Godfather Part 2, like you need somebody brand new to step up and be like, I don't fucking give a shit. Brando.
Brando.
Who cares?
And maybe somebody who doesn't know how unorthodox some of the filming methods are.
Right. Somebody who's like, oh, yeah, I guess this is how
the
movie
union
making
said
works.
this was okay? Vera said that?
God damn it. I get how sometimes we're about to say the same thing, but we're both about to say Vera said that. That's a little fucked up. Your nominees for Best Actress are from The Exorcist, Ellen Burstyn. From Don't Look Now, Julie Christie. From Sisters, Margot Kidder. From Paper Moon, Tatum O'Neal. And from Last Tango in Paris, Maria Schneider. And the winner is...
Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll.
Tatum O'Neal from Paper Moon.
That makes sense.
And you know what? Her dad's not around to give her a hard time about it. And I think that's something we can all be excited about.
I wanted to win the Moody before you won the Moody. He didn't win Best Actor for Barry Lyndon, did he?
He did not, no.
Barry Lyndon.
Big pile of shit.
No. That's all I remember from that movie at this point is us saying the title badly.
I've never seen Greg more mean than when Ryan O'Neal died. And Greg was like, fuck that big-headed idiot.
That's true, yeah. I went pretty hard on his death
It's just
day.
weird that you did it as a eulogy at his funeral.
Well, they shouldn't have invited me. It's like, listen to the podcast. You know what you're going to get. We're going to take our last quickest of breaks of the season. And when we come back, we're going to have our epic final battle. And then we're going to call it a season after reflecting on 1973's Movie of the Year.
Do you guys want to play a trivia game before we start?
Of course.
As long as it doesn't take too long, sure.
Best Actor of the 1975 Moody's. Here we go. First one is Gene Hackman from the movie.
That water movie.
Water movie, yes. I'll give it to Mike. Night Moves.
Night Moves.
Night Moves.
Next one, Tim Curry from the movie.
Clue. Rocky Horror.
Yep. Third one, Roy Scheider from
Jaws.
Fourth, Jack Nicholson.
One Flew.
Cuckoo's Nest.
And then the winner was one Dunkachino himself.
Al Pacino for Dog Day?
Dog Day Afternoon.
God, he's so good in that.
Attica, baby.
He says Wyoming like 10 times.
Pacino versus Nicholson, once again. The 70s. It was just those two guys saying, I'm Jack. Dunkachino. I'm Jack. Dunkachino.
So, after that short digression, we still have to do it.
This sucks, dude. I don't want to do this.
Tie.
It has been a long season full of many difficult battles, most of which went the exact opposite as Mike was hoping. And that has led us to this place where we have Don't Look Now versus Mean Streets. Don't Look Now is our 4th seed. Mean Streets is our 3rd seed. So not 1 and 2, but right
No,
up
there's
there.
what an upset. 3 and 4.
Wait, what's 1 and 2? Exorcist and
2
Probably Blame It on the Tiger or whatever that Jack Lemmon fucking movie was.
I cannot remember what the number 2 seed was, because maybe it didn't even make it into.
I'll look it up, Greg. Keep going.
So we have the number 3 and the number 4 seed here. Mike, if you had to sit down right now
Yes.
and watch one of these movies, what movie would you choose and why?
Mean Streets. I think it is a better made film. And I think there's more to chew on and get out of it. I don't hate Don't Look Now.
Uh-huh.
I am baffled how far it's gotten. I'd put it in like the bottom half of the movies for me.
Oh, okay. Of the bottom half of the 16.
It's not in your top 8.
It's maybe it's like number 7 or 8 if it's there. I don't have the list in front of me, but
could it beat Sisters?
it would be hard for it to.
Okay.
I guess this is one of the ones I'm really excited to watch it in like 6 months because I don't fucking get what you guys love so much about it. And at this point, it's like I'm annoyed that it feels like Ryan woke up and going, no matter what, Don't Look Now is gonna win. And for some
But like,
reason,
I
that
never
sticks in
said
my
that to
craw.
you. You're annoyed because you woke up and made that shit up.
No, because I've listened to you for the last 3 weeks, and it's clear only one movie ever had a chance in your heart, and you've.
That's not true though, because I don't even think it's gonna win this match.
No,
I've only been talking about one movie all night long.
No, it's Don't Look Now is what you've been talking about, and it's Mean Streets again. If we're talking not just quality, but like what it then would go on to do and change cinema, it's not Don't Look Now. Mean Streets is my vote clearly.
Do you feel, Ryan, like we still feel the echoes of Don't Look Now?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that like there's so many directors that quote it as in their top 4 most influential movies. Absolutely.
Mike, before you watched it, did you think it was going to be scary, and then when it wasn't? Or did you think it was scary? Did you think it was going to be scary, and then did you find it scary?
Do you think it was too scary, and then you covered your eyes with a blanket, and then missed most of the movie?
Yeah, I don't get that. I haven't. Most of the visual stuff you guys have talked about, I don't understand because the blanket. Yeah, it was a big quilt, so I could see some of them.
Did you get so excited by the water hearse that you ran around the room and then pretended to drive a water hearse and then missed the movie?
Yes, I feel like I like experiments. I like tonal shifts. Just a lot of them in this movie did not work for me.
And I think I could see that because there are some really big swings in this movie. And so if you're at all out of sync with it, I think you could, feel like those are swings and misses, and then it's hard for you to recover.
And I love the Christie and Sutherland, I think, are phenomenal. I think they're great. I wish they had the thing other actors do where they're like, let's make more movies together. Their chemistry and lack thereof, I think, is crackling.
Yeah, but the sisters are a big miss for you.
Yeah, there's just goofy elements that just really take a lot out for me. And versus like Sisters, where it's like, we're a goofy fucking movie. I'm like, hell yeah, you are. You get what you're doing. Like, this movie couldn't decide whether it wanted to be serious or a B movie, and I think it undercut both of those for me then.
And then we come to Mean Streets, and it feels like this is we are a pro Scorsese podcast.
It's a rarity.
Podcast brave enough to do that. It's him like in his first real movie. If that's not actually true, then like the first one that counts, people will say. The pairing of like the very naturalistic way it's shot with the music in a way that must have felt like so groundbreaking at the time, and even rewatching the movies of the 70s or of 73 felt groundbreaking because we heard a lot of soundtracks that frankly were awful and like gave us nothing. And then it also has like become a main way in which filmmakers communicate the feel of the movie is to use music in the way this does.
Maybe too much. Maybe they, instead of learning the spirit of what he did, they kept using the songs he uses.
The exact
Hey, other people, stop fucking using Rolling Stones.
Dear other people,
please stop using the Rolling Stones.
We get it. Your main character, he's a man of wealth and taste. Shut the fuck up.
It feels like, as much as it could be at the end here, we've got one movie that towers above all the others. Ryan, I think I agree with Mike that you've been the strongest proponent of Don't Look Now, although I think I've kind of been right there with you. I think you have definitely been the strongest proponent of Mean Streets. Are these your number 1 and 2 movies at the end here?
These are definitely my 2 favorites, along with The Long Goodbye. But I do think that, like, going through the season, The Long Goodbye has been a little bit of a struggle for me. These 2 movies have, like, definitely jumped past The Long Goodbye for me.
Yeah.
I would say. I don't know. I just The Long Goodbye left me wanting more than what these 2 movies brought. These 2 movies have, like, given me so much gifts, I will say, at this Christmas time. These are the movies that I just keep watching. Like, I've watched these movies since we've done the episodes, which has never happened to me before.
That's sicko behavior.
You're just go to therapy.
Behavior. I'm calling your wife right now.
Put her on the phone.
Well, let's do it, gentlemen. Let's put in our final votes. We will each write down our final vote, seal it in an envelope, mail the envelope to each other, and wait in real time as the letters are delivered. Okay, the letters have been delivered.
Wow,
Mike.
Real time's so fast these days.
Yeah, it really is. The mail, they've gotten their stuff in order. Mike, what do you think is 1973's movie of the year?
The Meanest of Streets.
Ryan, what do you think is 1973's movie of the year?
I have to, like, and this is it's unfair because I don't think maybe it's possible that, like, the director of Don't Look Now hasn't made a movie in 2023, and, like, he's just not on my mind. I know how influential it is, but, like, I have to go with Mean Streets.
Mean Streets. There you go. 1973's movie of the year is Mean Streets. Now, Mike, it might have felt like for you, Don't Look Now went on too far, but how about looking at the whole thing now? We have our 1973 movie of the year. It is Mean Streets. Does that feel good to you? Does it feel like a good selection?
Yeah, my 2, it would be Mean Streets and The Long Goodbye. And I'd be such a piss baby if Don't Look Now won. I would just keep talking about, like,
wait, hold on.
Asterisk.
I would like to change my vote then.
Well, if you did, Ryan, if you were to change your vote, I would have gone with Mean Streets. This was my 1 and 2, my first and second favorite movies.
Wait,
but
hold on. If I changed my vote to Don't Look Now, you would have gone with Mean Streets?
Yeah, like my deciding vote would have been Mean Streets.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that it probably is something a little bit bigger than just the movies themselves. I think that, launching a career that, as we've been talking about, spans until now and covers, like, some of the most important movies. And, of course, as a movie podcast, we like Scorsese. But I feel like there's, like, an extra gear. I feel like he's one of a handful of directors for us that, like, have become more important, than
Michael Bay,
others.
Zack Snyder.
We are major Snyder heads. Rebel Moon forever.
Rebel Moon Part 1 coming out,
forget
Netflix.
What the haters say. Got to check out Rebel Moon. It's like Star Wars, but not woke. I'm imagining. I mean,
I don't know. The main character is a woman.
Whoa. Okay. Back to sleep for me.
Why did Snyder betray us?
Now, thinking of Mean Streets in the collection of movies of the year, it also hangs in that territory, doesn't it? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that this is a very strong entry for movie of the year.
I do too. Like, the way that it's different to me is that I think Don't Look Now fits better with E.T., for instance, for 82. I think Blade Runner is sloppier than E.T. And
kind of ironic because Don't Look Now actually features a Blade Runner. That lady running around with a knife, right?
That is true. What was our last one? Anybody remember?
You can't ask her
You
questions.
rattled off 3, and I was like, what?
Both of you.
Man, this guy knows what we've been up to. What did we just do? We just did 2002? I can't remember. I have
Come
no
on.
idea.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember
I couldn't
Eyes
even
Wide
tell you
Shut,
19
and that's it.
I couldn't even tell you 19.
Was it 82 our last one?
Again,
Let's just
Why would you do this to us?
So
we've been podcasting for 7 hours.
So I think that E.T. is more classically like than Blade Runner, but I would say that Don't Look Now is closer to the E.T. pick. Mean Streets is the sloppier one, closer to Blade Runner, but Blade Runner lost. So like I do think that like we're not really putting down a pattern here.
Got it. Okay, for a while I had no idea what you were saying. Now I.
So you say in a way we're not being internally consistent,
right?
Well, we're different people
and
now.
That's
than
on
we
you
were
too.
then.
I mean, I think I take every new season and every new movie as a fresh experience because, as we just have pointed out, I can't even remember the things that we recently talked about.
Just like each season of Movie of the Year is a new listener's new season, it's also sort of our first season of Movie of the Year.
Yes,
we remembered nothing.
Do you ever feel like talking to Mike is like talking to the fucking captain of the original Star Tours ride?
It is my first time, you know.
Mine too.
How have you've done it for 50 years? How's it your first time still?
Well, that is the 1973 Movie of the Year. I feel very good with our answer. No matter how we got there, we came to the correct final answer. This is the end of my time hosting.
Oh,
it was 2002 and it was Adaptation. You fucking
Adaptation.
dumb shits.
I remember so clearly. I remember that. Adaptation. Amazing movie. The DVD is still sitting on my entertainment system, and I'm like, I got to put that away. That's been out
Or
for
watch it again.
6 months. Or watch it again.
Don't watch. You're never going to watch it.
I am handing the reins off, gentlemen. Who shall I hand them to? I am leaving the heights of the host and becoming a measly contestant.
I think it's only fair. I lost all dog shit season, so I'm not even I'm not in this fight. Ryan, I think you deserve it.
Well, before I take over the reins, I think that maybe we should all join hands and first of all, say incredible job, Greg.
Yeah, Greg, what a
congratulations.
phenomenal season.
Yeah, I think we can all agree.
I feel like that the two winners of 1973 are Mean Streets and Gregory. And then after,
and maybe a third winner, America.
I don't know, man.
Consider that
Yeah,
one.
they
Consider
did.
America.
I don't really want to do that.
I'm over it. I'm over America.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be putting on red and blue, and then I'll be like, should I put on some white? No.
Never.
You were born wearing copious amounts of white, Ryan.
That's true.
Your white skin.
Pasty ass bitch.
Yeah, we got it, Mike. He doesn't need a Flavor Flav to his fucking
Everybody needs a Flavor
insulting
Flav.
Chuck D. We're going to, after this season, we're going to start to hack the fuck through 2023. And all three of us, along with our other friends, are going to help us do that. And then after that, gentlemen, I'm going to take the reins.
Okay.
Oh, I expected more than just like one sort of like
Woo!
nerve.
I didn't want.
You also want.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. I thought you were like building a tone and a mood there.
No, I clearly paused for.
But sometimes I know this
Clapping.
is hard because anytime you hear one of us pause, you just bulldoze in there and start talking. Sometimes people pause for effect, and I thought that's what you were doing.
Listeners, do you see what I have to deal with here?
They do.
It's yours to deal with now, Ryan. Ryan, do you want to hint at the season, or should they have to wait until the end of the year stuff?
We're going to go from 1973, and we're going to travel 11 years into the future to sweet-ass 1984. That's right.
Just like George Orwell said.
In 2024, we're going back 40 years to 1984 to meet the Karate Kid, Indiana Jones, Freddy Krueger, Gremlins, Ghostbusters, that fucking weird worm dog that Atreyu flies on.
Falcor, bitch.
Falcor. All of
The
those.
horse that gets depression.
The horse that gets depression and then fucking kills itself in quicksand.
Yeah.
Man, are we gonna get any arty movies? These are all fucking blockbuster
No,
bangers.
dude, this is the 80s.
Wim Wenders made Paris, Texas.
Oh yeah, Paris, Texas.
Made
That's
up a movie, made up a
stuff.
city.
That's my pick for winner, by the way. I'm going to announce that right now, just to you listeners. My pick for winner is Paris, Texas. But 1984 is coming soon after we kick the shit out of 2023, only on Movie of the Year. Greg, nice season. keep watching those movies.
Keep watching those movies.
Damn movies. Season over.